Hi, and welcome to the September. Can you believe it's September already? Year's almost over. The September verse virtual reading and our wonderful features today are Adrienne Su and Faith Shearin. And we have our usual wonderful open mic. So I'm so glad that you have come today, whether you're watching this live or on video. And we're going to start in just a minute uh, with our features, but I have room after the features for a couple of people on the open mic. If I haven't already told you that you're on it, um, tell me whether you would like to be. So for instance, Betsy, would you like to be on the open? Or Deborah?
Sorry, I was trying to unmute. I'm just kind of getting going. If other people want to, they can take it. And
Oh,
if there's room, I will.
okay, I'm putting you on the open. I
Oh,
forgot to, yeah. All right, I forgot a lot of things this morning.
but
I'm
if
kind of,
someone else really wants to, they should because I'm not prepared at all right now.
it doesn't look like it.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So I am not running on all cylinders today. And Nancy, would you like to be on the open?
Hi, I'm not sure I can stay till the very end. So that was my only concern. How long does it run, Robbi?
About an hour and a half.
Yeah, I can only be here for like an hour because I have a conflict. So I don't want to put myself on the list
Okay.
because I may not stay for everybody. So, but thank you. It's nice to be here. I don't get here too often, so I'm glad to hear some reading.
Yeah, and if it turns out we're running fast, I'll ask you again.
Okay, I will. I have something I could read.
Okay. So let me find the bio here. I'm going to introduce our first feature. Adrienne Su is the author of 5 books of poetry, most recently Peach State 2021 and Living Quarters 2015, and one collection of essays on poetry and food. Hot, sour, salty, sweet.
Mm.
Her awards include an NEA fellowship and residencies at Yaddo, Virginia Center for the Creative Arts, and Vermont Studio Center. Peach State was named a 2022 book all Georgians should read and was a finalist for the Patterson Poetry Prize. An Atlanta native, Sue lives in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, where she's a professor of creative writing at Dickinson College. And if you're not Adrienne, please put yourself on mute. Thank you.
Is it time? Thank you. Thank you, Robbi. Thank you for having me, and thank you for being here, everyone else. It looks like a really nice community here, and I'm also delighted to see some old friends, um, among them Faith. So I will, let me just start I'm just running a stopwatch so I know I don't go over the time. I'm going to start with a poem that is relatively new and reflects my own habit. Well, it's not a habit, it's just a thing that happens of associating colors with words and letters. It's called the letter A. It's red, like the 1940s and the city of Atlanta, like calculus and algebra, but not geometry. Our azaleas were pink, but the word azalea reads red, like anticipation and melancholy. Harvard, too, is red, not because of the crimson, but thanks to the vowels, which I can't help seeing on hearing them voiced. Meanwhile, Adrienne has red, blue, yellow, black, brown, and green. too many parts for attempting self-portraiture, though red is elemental to my life and name. The glaze on Chashao, my grandmother's sweaters, my mother's old editions of Stephen Crane, restaurant booths I did not consider brash. My most used dictionary, red. The gateway book of poems, Olds's Satan Says. Mailbox flags, lip gloss, then lipstick, best paired with black. Disposable chopstick sleeves, poinsettias in foil. The tall paper cup a frosted orange arrives in. Coca-Cola cans. The first flower from a boy. Some say A takes its shade from Hester Prynne, but for me, the letter was read before Hawthorne, even before I could say, my name is Adrienne. By the time kids at school had started yelling, yo, I inhabited not the sense, but the senses of words. Whatever they did to make themselves known, I heard the ones I saw the ones I heard. Thank you. This poem it's called Canine. I haven't had a dog in a few years, and I miss it. What is a home without its dog? Order, ease, the option not to walk. Yard where you don't watch your step. Those who never had time for pets point out your freedom as if you hadn't known the conditions for which you signed on. Yes, there had been frustration, the walk as prerequisite to anything you wanted to do. Trips canceled or never scheduled, the repetitions of the scoop, the vacuum. As with a baby, you felt the distance from family. But what looked like lost time was time out of time. Your offenses, at minimum, were harsh, being human. Oblivious to minutes, the forgiveness was infinite. Thanks. This one, I don't think it needs any intro. It's called Dads. What did they do all day? All we knew. Count them out until dinner's underway. Except on the oddball days, they did the afternoon carpool, which meant we could lobby for an ice cream stop. A dad who had had a good day, or a bad one, might give in. We had to find his weakness. Maybe he'd want to delay getting home, or had had all he could take of being official in a weekday way, or needed a break from the acrid tastes of what men consumed. He could get a cone too, not the wimpy kid size a mom might take, but 2 scoops, dipped even a Sunday, all was in play on midweek afternoon. We couldn't say why the hour felt so free, only that it swayed between work and life, like not being fully awake, and we, feeling without knowing, could still partake. Thank you so much. This is a prose poem, and I believe it has no need for intro either. It's called Diaspora. Outside the cities, poets are like Chinese restaurants, spaced to avoid oversaturating an area. The strategy, building collective success on individual loneliness, has worked for most of the genre's recent history. In their outposts, the poets find ways to adapt. When alone in cafes, they get coffee to go because lingering magnifies their sense of exile. When they realize that, no longer taking the subway or wiping soot off kitchen appliances, they can easily keep a white shirt white, they stop wearing all black. The literary scene being tiny, they convert their readings to lectures. If single, they date journalists who can construct a concise sentence, or martial arts instructors who have a sense of form. Although the poets continue to refer to where they came from as home, as the years pass and more family members disperse, they begin to despair of having anywhere to return to. But it isn't all bad. Once they've secured a niche in the local economy, most poets can afford a house and, if they have children, send them to the good public schools. Social acceptance is likely because in 1968, Richard Scarry included a poet in an attic in What Do People Do All Day, legitimizing the occupation and countering the notion of poets as tragic urbanites who die young. When tempted to complain, the poets remind themselves of others who are worse off, those who have multiple roommates at midlife, those whose devotion to the purity of their art makes them unmarketable, and those whose failure to acculturate has left them socially stranded, speaking a language the neighbors find opaque and intimidating. Poets have long attracted readers by putting poems in mailboxes, pinning them to bulletin boards, and leaving stacks of them in entryways. At times, the abundance of paper in public spaces is denounced as a public nuisance, and any poet seen approaching the vestibule of an office or apartment building is shooed away before a stanza hits a surface. Occasionally, a poet who lives in one of these buildings, coming home from work, is mistaken for a litterer. Still, the distributors persist, even at risk of being fined, because usually somebody, somewhere, picks up a poem and takes an interest. Each small victory counts. For instance, sometimes the bureaucrat who collects parking and littering fines admits to liking haiku and dismisses the penalty. While this isn't what any poet first envisioned as making it as an artist, such an episode makes for a decent day in a long string of days that could have gone differently, days that could have added up to silence instead of obscurity. Thank you. It was really fun to write in prose for a change, but to still be in the land of poetry. I'm going to read two poems from a series called, well, the series doesn't have a name, but all the poems in it have the same title. They're called East Asian Studies, which is where I spent most of my college years, even though it wasn't something I planned to go into. So here's a poem called East Asian Studies. It began as digression, a way to patch something broken. Then I was hurtling toward fluency, or another failed inquiry at the door to a region. After half a dozen seasons, completion seemed possible, but I took it all as preamble to something ill-defined, a life of the mind without plans for the body. I had no practicalities nor reasoned explanations for having come to this station. I had followed a feeling, a penchant for being, or believing in being, in two places at once. Always, I had been in only one. And here's another one with the same title. I'm nearing the end, really. It's just this one and one more poem. It's East Asian Studies. Its shadowing presence had given me questions. On the rare occasions I'd attempted to listen, my ear took the syllables into its crucible and tried to spell them. My mind was too Roman. Who knew there were ancient tongues without declension? I wanted a cliff for jumping off into something gentle and elemental, water, air, or earth, the sort that dependably parts for the falling daughter, but not to install her in Hades, nor to receive the roots of the tree she's becoming. Surely there were alternate stories and sounder reasons for grieving, for seasons, for fleeing a suitor across land and water, even if he had to be a god of poetry. Thank you. I love seeing little things pop up in the chat. I'm looking forward to actually reading them in a little while. So that poem, that East Asian Studies poem that kind of threw me into Greek and Roman mythology led to some poems that live in that world. And I'll just read one of them. I think most people know the story of Arachne, but I'll just recap it just in case anyone has forgotten. She was a weaver who happened to be truly excellent and somehow ended up in competition with Athena for weaving and winning the competition, which enraged the goddess, who then had her killed, but then decided, okay, maybe that was too harsh. I will bring her back, but she will be a spider, so she can just weave for the rest of her life. This poem is voiced by Arachne, and that's the title. I can't help it. Everything I make comes out patterned. Also, I never challenged Athena. Here's what happened. I applied for a grant. She was rejected. Since the jurors were anonymous, all she could do was punish the winner. Having spent my life unheard and invisible, I had no idea my work was controversial. I thought nothing of depicting the gods as I viewed them. The images offended none, since none knew them. That changed overnight. Athena killed me, then had mercy enough to bring me back as a spider, which turned me into a permanent weaver. There are those who abhor a cobweb and always sweep it away, but more admire every strand for its working geometry, implying that nature and lives might be orderly. Now that I'm public, some consider me tragic for my exile to corners, basements, and attics. Never the heart of a room where life happens, tearing my silks. But I'm happy. Even as a human, I was that person who watched and imagined, and not the one to whom everything happened. That's it. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed those poems and the odd little corners you occupy in your poems. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
I put a link to your website so that people can read more and perhaps order your books. And let's see, as soon as I find the bio. Our next feature is Faith Shearin. Faith's 7 books of poetry include The Owl Question, which received the May Swenson Award, Telling the Bees from San Francisco University Press, or SFA, if that's not the same, Orpheus, Turning, which won the Dogfish Poetry Prize, Darwin's Daughter, and Lost Language from Press 53. Her poems have been read aloud on the Writer's Almanac and included in American Life and Poetry. She's received awards from Yaddo, the National Endowment for the Arts, the Fine Arts Works Center in Provincetown. Her essays and short stories have appeared in The Sun, New Ohio Review, Missouri Review, Florida Review, and Literal Latte, among others. She has 2 YA novels and won the Global Fiction Prize for one of them, My Sister Lives in the Sea, and has been published in the US and UK by Leapfrog Can of Worms Press. Thank you so much, and go ahead and read. So Adrienne, put yourself on mute. You did.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Robbi. It was so great to hear your work, Adrienne. Adrienne and I had a writing fellowship together when we were really young, like in our early 20s. And I have loved her work for a very long time. I think I'm going to read you 6 or 7 poems. And I thought I'd start off with some poems about my mother. My mother's in her 80s and she just bought this van that you can kind of see behind me. She and my dad have started riding around in an RV. And so I thought I'd open with a poem called My Mother's Van. My mother's van. Even now, it idles outside the houses where we failed to get better at piano lessons, visits the parking lot of the ballet school where my sister and I stood awkwardly at the back. My mother's van was orange with a door we slid open to reveal beheaded plastic dragons and bunches of black, half-eaten bananas. It was where her sketchbooks tarried among abandoned coffee cups and science projects. She meant to go places in it, camp in its back seat and cook on its stove while painting the coast of Nova Scotia or capturing the cold beauty of the Blue Ridge Mountains at dawn. Instead, she waited behind its wheel while we scraped violins, made digestive noises with trumpets, danced badly at recitals where grandmothers recorded us with unsteady cameras. Sometimes now I look out a window and believe I see her waiting for me beside a curb under a tree. And I think I could open the door and clear off a seat and look at the drawing in her lap, which she began but never seemed to finish. Okay, so I'm just going to continue with the poems about my mother for a minute. When I was growing up, she had a fantasy that she was going to move to Alaska. And so this one is called My Mother Pretending to Move to Alaska. It got her through a lot of things, this idea. For 30 years, my mother pretended she was moving to Alaska. She owned no maps of the state and did not try to visit. She lived on a hot island in North Carolina and could not drive in the snow, owned a thin winter coat, no boots or gloves. My mother survived things she hated by pretending she was leaving. Baby showers, years of teaching in classrooms where children built fleets of paper airplanes. She told me sometimes about Alaska, a place where she would live so far from the neighbors they could not maintain an interest in her business, a place where there was so much snow she would not ever mow the lawn. On bad days, my mother imagined who she would be in that eternal winter, rugged, adventurous, warm, because she was not thin. My mother was going to Alaska, and if she never got there, it was because her Alaska was not on any map and could not be reached by boat or bobsled. Her Alaska was a blizzard of privacy and imagination, its borders hidden or revealed by the snowdrifts in her mind. Okay, one last one about my mother. My mother hated housework when I was growing up, and she still hates it. And this one got read for a minute on NPR when I was in an anthology, and my grandmother called me and said, you know, was it really necessary to share the state of your mother's kitchen with the whole country? Okay, it's called Entropy. My mother's kitchen was asleep. Our family did not gather there. We lived and ate in our bedrooms, hypnotized by the blue lights of TV. But in her kitchen, pots and pans floated belly up in the week-old water, and our garbage, smiling, outgrew its bag. All of this very slowly, as if in a dream. My mother despises what can never truly be done, so she does not care for cooking or cleaning. If one cooks a fine dinner, one must wash the dishes to cook a fine breakfast, to wash the dishes to cook a fine lunch, and so on. My mother explained this one afternoon in the basement where the laundry grew around us like trees. Our jungle home was a metaphor for my mother giving in to entropy. When wine spilled on the couch and we laughed as the stain unfurled, we were embracing chaos. And when we fell asleep with the lights on and the TV talking, we were the weeds in our own garden. My mother's kitchen was haunted. Her refrigerator leaned to one side and made only brown ice. Her biscuits were as flat as plates. But none of this mattered because we were forgetting ourselves even as we were becoming ourselves. We pursued truth, beauty, the meaning of life, while my mother's kitchen discovered decay. All this unraveling, moldy food, newspapers piling up to the ceiling. We loved each other like that. Bananas going black on the counter, the lines coming in around our eyes. Okay, thank you. Um, okay, two more. When I was looking through my old stuff, I looked again at this poem. It was like the first poem that I put in my very first book of poetry, and I wrote it when I was really young, like say 22 in grad school. And it's funny to look back at it now, at like who I was at 22. Piano Lesson, it's called. It also was an opening poem for a book, and I think those are different. You know, you're trying to invite the reader in and trying to also say something about, yeah, where the work is going to go. So, Piano Lesson. Um, my eyes open before the sun drops its yoke into the sky, and a girl upstairs is practicing scales. I imagine the arch of her hand, the way her skirt might pause above the knee. In the street, I hear a victim, a paper cup, a man who talks physics with a pigeon, a pair of girls blow bubblegum bubbles at the sky. Perhaps an old woman dreams her childhood on a park bench while the man beside her decides to leave his wife. The world is complicated, an open window, my head pressed to a pillow where I find a tidal action. So many bodies rolling onto the planet, so many others turning back. In a cafe, I may someday light a cigarette and remember the last person who did not love me, open my mouth to see if it speaks smoke or words. But these days, I wake up wondering, how will I fit all this life in one life? I need a map, a vocabulary list. I can't learn the world fast enough. I want to be like the girl upstairs who has braced herself before a grand piano and taught her own blind fingers to sing. Okay, I think I'll close with a poem about my daughter. This is a really, she was small when I wrote this, so it must be old. She's 25 now. She was great then. She's still very great now. Um, she had a recurring dream of alligators. Here it is, alligators. The year she is 6, my daughter dreams of alligators in the closet, at home where her uniform waits, and at school where the children hang their coats in a room made of winter. When certain classmates begin stealing her lunch, she imagines an alligator passing behind her teacher's desk unnoticed. Sometimes the alligator is on our street eating cars. Sometimes it wanders to the playground where she is hopping from one square to another, practicing balance. I don't like sending her into the dull weather of the classroom blackboard like a starless sky. Alligators in the fountain where she stoops to drink her water. Alligators in the desks with freshly sharpened pencils. Alligators leading the children through the unlit hallways, tails swishing like skirts. Thanks a lot.
Was so wonderful. Thank you. We've had amazing poems this morning, so I'm sure that we're going to go home and take off on our own poetic adventures. But before we do that, we've got an open mic. And the first person on that open mic is Marc Petrie. Take it away, Marc. It's 2 poems or 5 minutes, whichever comes first, including intros.
Hello. I'm reading a poem called Incident in a Bar in Tyson's Corner, Virginia. And just quick background, in 1993, when I wrote the notes that formed this poem. I worked at the Superior Court of Los Angeles as head of the computer service for criminal and justice systems and was heavily involved in the O.J. Simpson trial, far more heavily than I would have liked to have been. So this is about seeing the slow car chase across country. Incident in a bar in Tyson's Corner, Virginia. Who is that man staring me down? Was it O.J. who said, "Go west, young man"? Now his image heads east with a gun pressed to his temple. Al Collins keeps his eye on me, staring through the lens mounted on the newscopter, on the monitor above the corner of the bar where I order a margarita for Susan and Cokes for Amy and me. The white Bronco drives 35 miles per hour on a California freeway. As he enters Orange County, passing near the junction of the 55, the sheriff chopper Duke One joins the squadron in pursuit. Why aren't the other drivers honking like they would at me? The truck heads straight at me, slowly. I pay for the drinks. Wherever I stand in the bar, the man follows me, all the way across the nation on KTLA over a CNN feed. Susan looks disgusted. I sold my house in Echo Park. Now I can't escape the shit show. Amy leaves her Coke untouched on the bar, uh, goes to the car after we leave. He is online on the radio, live through the airwaves. I hear the voices on Sunset Overpass of the 405. Go OJ, all the way from KNX News Radio to WTOP. I need a break from California. The state never gets away from me. Its craziness follows me. I can't get off the coast. All roads and airways lead east.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Our, that's it for today, huh? Okay, our next reader is Rose.
Okay, I've even unmuted myself, which is very rare. I am reading two poems that have just come out in my latest chapbook. A little explanation, and this is the book. I don't even know whether you can see it. I love words, like we all do, and I've made a little dictionary of odd words that I found interesting. And it's not alphabetical, and it's not a proper dictionary. It's just poems that match the words. So the first one is craven. The coward who will lie rather than defend his position. Unsurprisingly, he won't have a position. The craven individual who'll move with the wind, afraid to stand his ground. Unsurprisingly, he won't have a ground. The kid who'll pick up the rotten apples from under the tree, unless those that are brave enough to climb its branches will throw him some. And he knows how to make them. And the second one is iconoclast. The person who asks why. Should Judas not have a place at the table? Didn't he help to fulfill the plan? What does skin color have to do with brains? Why would the church sell absolutions? Aren't there as many ways to God as there are people on this earth? So do all the faraway people who have never heard of Jesus all go to hell? Even Jesus drove out the tradesmen and money changers from the temple, and the Pharisees never forgave him. like all iconoclasts, he would be in deep shit trouble if he were to show up in these interesting times. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for your perspective, Rose. Our next reader is Nancy, because Dick has invited you to take his spot at the beginning.
You're saying me?
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dick. This has been great. All right, I'm just going to read a poem that just came out in Anna Kappa Review this couple of weeks ago. And Robbi, you'll remember this one. It's called just one preface. Pantone has a color of the year every year. And I wrote about this particular year. The 2021 Pantone color of the year was dual, ultimate gray plus illuminating. They said it was a marriage of color. They said it was a message of strength and hopefulness. They said it's good to push two shades close together. They didn't say that illumination makes the gray grayer. They didn't say shadows make the sun brighter. They didn't say eventually all paint peels. They didn't need to put ultimate in front of gray. They never asked what was most valuable to us. They never asked how much coverage we needed. I would have said, gray dusk is not uplifting. I would have said sunlight hurts my eyes after tears. I would have said I lied only when I had to. To avoid staining my hands, I would have done anything. And I never would have dropped that match so close to him.
Ooh,
Thank you.
okay. Our next reader is Michael.
Thank you, Robbi. Thank you, Adrienne, for those terrific poems, and Faith also. And thank you for reading the one about your mother moving to Alaska. It brought back memories of when we lived in Fairbanks for a couple of years. So the two poems I'm going to read for you today, the first one is from my new book, Shaking Music from the Angry Air. The second one is brand new. And in fact, it's debut. No one else has ever seen it or heard it before. So we'll see how that goes. First poem is entitled, This Sunday Feeling. This feeling is a little bare. Sunday morning alone at a cafe table reading Frank O'Hara. I am going to touch in difficult ways. I am already exhausted with cruel pages of thought. I am skinny with self-esteem. It is work to avoid acting like a horrible asshole. It is harder still because people I adore horrible assholes. It is prison labor to write a poem that's not a famished mammal. I am faking hibernation in an anxious cave. I am truly screwed if I can't even believe in my own afternoons. I am obese with self-hatred. Sunday evening alone at the kitchen table reading Larry Levis. This feeling is a lot of death. Just thought I'd give you some uplifting stuff to work with this morning. All right, this next one, brand new poem. And this one's entitled, Maybe Jesus Works at the Taco Bell. Like the cartoons, she has a portable hole she keeps in the night. She slips within when he isn't looking. He goes on for hours, ignoring her or watching TV, or talking at her empty face without attempting to make eye contact. She, meantime, slides through the astral tube to emerge at various inclinations. She puts on makeup at the vanity her parents never gifted, a rabbit moon in the window. She flies in a plane to Paris with the lover she took last summer, and they parachute to the Eiffel Tower, where her paramour dies of love in her arms. She's a snowball. She's a solar system. She is soundproof. A spaceship takes her away, but she returns as a tugboat. Often, she simply sits under waves of stars on the ivy-covered slope outside her high school's chain-link fence. She looks down at a row of cars reflecting purple-pink neon in the Taco Bell drive-through line. Caterpillar-like, they inch along forward, one by one, pulled toward the mercury vapor light of the cashier window, closer, with ever hopeful anticipation of the soft glow menu's crackly voice, closer, closer still, to bathing in a moment of jejune comfort when it offers, "Welcome, can I help you?" Always it is yes, and she closes her eyes, relaxed, leaning, then rolling down the incline, into the hole, falling to bed, where it's nearly dawn, and he snores while she makes a mental list of what everyone will want for Christmas, tears caressing her beautiful eyes. Thank you.
Our next reader is Gary.
Okay. And it was funny that Faith read mother poems because one of the ones I picked is a mother poem that has an unusual history. My parents decided that they wanted me to read a memorial poem at their funeral service. And so this is the one that I read at my mother's service, and my father liked it enough that he had it printed as a part of her obituary. So I'm an unusual poet who's had not one, but two, a mother and a father poem published in an obituary page. Mother in the Mirror. Mother in the mirror is larger than she appeared after the erosion of years. Illness and infirmity sucked away at her life, but never drained her spirit. If you listened carefully, you could still hear her love, hear the play of words, but you had to look closely to see the beauty of youth, to remember all the changes, the shifts of shade and self, the alchemy of beauty, spirit remaking itself. Mother always seemed at ease, slipped across boundaries, easily changed her mass. Now mother, now hostess, ready to roll up the rugs and dance a pasacalle. Now a gringa, fishing lakes with monkey islands, streams that etch the paramo, ready for tambo bowls and remote mountain altars. Her spirit never back down, fills the mirror of memory. And now, indirectly, a father poem, but it's not actually. I am not the speaker. I am not the subject of the poem. It's called Labyrinth in Cane, and it was published in the most recent issue of McQueen's Quinterly. You follow the familiar spiral into the center, stand on a stepping stone stream, big enough to let it hold the wooden cane you carry, the one your father carried. You lay down the cane, set it across the stones of that tree. The songs of cardinals rise like hymns in your father's church. Memories of your father warm you against the chill. You whisper a prayer of thanks, pick up the cane and turn, spiral back into the world, leaning on your father's cane the way you once leaned on him. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. I have a new mouse and it's a little dicey, so if I take a little longer than I should, that's why. I'm left-handed. It's not easy to get computer mouses. Okay, our next reader is Tim. Tim, are you there? You still there? Okay.
He's muted. He's there, but he's muted.
Can you
There
unmute?
he
Yeah,
is.
there we go. That's great. That's why it's great. It's great having a wife. You know, say unmute yourself. Okay, fine. Thank you. And thanks again to everyone. I'm going to read just one poem. After this, yeah, you only get one poem after this fella. It's called "It's Only Fame." One of the first things I see in the village is a side street named Rue Obscure. A thin clump of cobblestones at best, but how can I not pay homage and walk down it? A group of writers appear right above in the sky, writers who have been immortalized by literatures and the world's memory. I wave and mouth pleasantries. The one who committed suicide waves back with vigor. I exit the street to the square and its cafe and its quite old church, charming still. The writers have disappeared, and the blue sky rules again. I head for the cafe, a part of me believing this is home. What would I do in the sky anyway? Thank you.
Thank you. Don't want to read another one?
Oh no, thank you very much. That was it.
Okay.
But thank you all. Thank you all.
Mhm. The next reader is Betsy Mars.
Hi, thank you. That kind of blew me away because I was in France, I don't know, so many years ago, and was wandering around and came across Rue Obscure and took a picture, and I just kept it, and I said one day that's going to be my book title, and now it will be next year for Shearin a gig. But anyway, I was really happy to hear that. It's so funny because it seems like, you always think you have an original idea and then everybody, you find it like Rose. I was working on a book about a kind of an alphabetical book, but anyway, I'll shut up now. I think Faith read her book for her daughter, and so that motivated me to pull out this one that I had published a couple months ago for my daughter. She was a little bit older. She's now 32, so also a little bit older. But I think she was probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 at the time, but it's called, and I'm probably mispronouncing it, Purpura patula, the elusive snail. The milk of 12,000 snails is needed to dye only the trim of a single garment, we read while getting ready for a nap. My daughter then mimics how to extract ink from a mollusk, like this. Her small fingers pulling on imaginary teats. We take a trip to Osaka in our minds, scrambling down that rock face to pry loose the precious gastropods. We laugh, retract into our respective shells, that sleepy intertidal zone, feet entwined, inner eyes swiveling on stalks, enveloped in the crevice of the purple spread. In dream, we are replenished. And I was lucky that she still liked to nap with me for a long time and liked to read stories together and read together. So I just want to read a really short one that came out recently from my father, and it's called Farofa at the Care Home. In Brazil, we relied on this peasant staple, a glistening fry of eggs and onions, manioc flour, turning crumbly, lumpy with egg bits, surrounded by grit. Comfort food after a hard day, any day. So after you lay there semi-tolerantly for a couple of weeks, regaining strength, pushing around whatever appeared on your table, I found a local mercado and made a semblance of it, delivered a bowl still steaming, hoping to nurture your grit, to jog a memory, to jar loose those sensory nerves, to take you to any other place than this, Lysol masking the smell of piss. And on your bed tray sits this largesse, just asking to be eaten. And I just want to say the features were so great. I'm so glad I got out of bed. Thank you.
We're glad you did too. Thank you for those lovely poems. I love that color on you, as I said in the chat.
I was kind of shocked when I looked in the mirror because I always have black on and I forgot what I went to bed in.
It looks great on you. I love
Thank
it.
you. I started hiding it under my black shirt and I'm like, whatever.
Why?
I don't know. I'm just
It's my favorite color, I think.
thank you.
Pui, it's your turn. Are you muted? Do you want to read? I can't hear you, Tim. Okay. I'm going to go on to the next person, and if Pui wants to read, I will give her another chance. Okay. The next person is Dick.
Hello, all. I've been deciding the order to read these poems, the hopeful one first or the hopeless one. I think I'll start hopeless and leave you on a sweet note with a very short poem. This poem was prompted by a text from a friend of mine in despair. The end of summer in America, and the friend appears in the poem. America is July, sitting on rooftops in New York, throwing back 6-packs of Bud, listening to WCBS broadcast the game. The Mets lose to the Yanks again. America is August at the Jersey Shore on Diamond Beach, eating vinegar fries and chicken wings, lounging under umbrellas and watching the kids buried to their faces in sand. America is September in Louisville, the leaves beginning to burn. A man with a Mayan face, round and brown, pats his pocket for his U.S. passport in case he's stopped again when papers, please, is demanded of him. America is that man no longer calling his daughter by her given name at the supermarket. Rainy, he says, instead of Lluvia. Not speaking Spanish to her at the playground, no longer lingering with the other dads after dropping her off at school. America is October at my synagogue, the rabbi urging us to recount our sins. I have trespassed, I intone, I have sinned. America is November, the first snow. Thanksgiving at great-grandma's. Again, she shows us her arm tattoo, 45,072, there since she was branded in the winter of 44. America is me in December, glancing over my shoulder, carrying my papers too. January, it may be you. And the second poem, because we always need a little brightness. Well, yeah, I do. And this was prompted by reading about a new theory about how the first stars were formed. And it's very short, so I'll read it twice, actually. Cosmology. Stars are born in the dark. What more do I need to know? Stars are born in the dark. What more do I need to know?
Thank you, Dick. Amazing, amazing. Thank you. We all needed that, believe it or not. I have a couple of poems, but I'm going to give Pui another chance if she wants to read. I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was reading. So I went and grabbed a poem. Um, it's a short poem. Yeah. It's called The Sparrow. The city of meandering bridges, gleaming universities, and hospital keep expanding, but the sick are not healed. City of billboards and grins, gospel, banks promising a human touch, which is in short supply. News ticker runs around buildings like arrows looking for victims. Every outrage appeals to our exhaustion. I am only passing through, prefer salvation in the underground, like the moments when the subway door opens and a sparrow embarks. One must be patient for the end of the line. There may be a prison or a zoo, or the sea washing the feet of beachcombers and exiles alike. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pui. I'm going to read a couple of poems. I'll start with a food poem. I have a food manuscript. Every dish requires a death that I'm trying to shop out there. It's not getting any bites. But this poem was, if I can get it, was in Swim some time ago. It's called Watching Noodle Making Videos on YouTube. And it has an epigraph, Ars longa vita brevis. The noodle master, Peter Song, said a chef must make 100 bowls of noodles every day to learn the craft, to knead a pile of disparate dust till it comes together in a shiny ball of dough, then stretch and twist it into a rope, an umbilicus pulsing with life. I wonder, where does this new life come from? Was it in the wheat, in the fingers of the chef, or in their interaction? I push play again. Watch the chef bring down the long rope hard onto the butcher block, whacking it till it separates into strands like a deity forming new life out of clay. I don't know how he does it, though I've watched repeatedly. He doesn't say how many pounds of flour, how many hours I will need to stand over this table before the noodles will unfold in my hand, spring to life in roiling water, tender as clouds. I'm not sure that was the same version that was in. I think this thing is going to drive me nuts. Okay, and here's a new one that's going to be in thimble. It's called From East to West. Once it was necessary to imagine the sky. Small, I saw just a slice of it, tiny puzzle piece, the bit between electric lines and Sterling Street's red brick row houses. The moon mostly eluded me, and the fugitive stars hidden beneath clouds of car exhaust. I had to move out west to see past that illusion. On the ride to California in an overheating Datsun, New Mexico's wide skies and Arizona's deserts sparked only fear, the space between the lights of human settlement, so wide I shivered. It was a feral sky, home to fire, flash flood, cosmic collisions that could swallow my world whole, belch out 1,000 galaxies, swirling like protozoa under the lens. I could see for the first time that matter, even that big tree, or you or I, are actually as insubstantial as a wisp of cloud wafting across the midday sky. Thank you. My new book, About to Disappear, is coming out October 28th. I just got the date yesterday, so I couldn't help telling you, from Shanti Arts, and it's an ekphrastic book with images. Yay! Thank you. Thank you so much for listening, for being here, and thanks to our wonderful features and to the open mic and whoever's listening on recording. Thanks a lot. I'm going to stop the recording. So if you want to chat, ask questions, whatever,